Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and these cards belong to the game Unreal Estate. Unreal Estate pits the players against each other as each person is kind of like a city planner, if you will. They're going to be collecting these cards that depict different types of fantastic houses and buildings like wizard towers and airships and thieves guilds and magic item shops, things like that. And each of them, you're trying to collect, most of them, unless it's an action card, you're trying to collect sets of those cards that you'll be able to then turn in for points as long as they match cards that are in what's called the scrap pile. The scrap pile accumulates as the game progresses, and then that actually then, as more and more cards get into the scrap pile, the cards in your hand that you can possibly turn in for points, their value grows and grows and grows. So this is a situation where you have kind of a press your luck situation, where you might be holding on to these cards, you're waiting for some big turn in, but then all of a sudden on a turn, you wait like one turn too many, and then the other players have the ability to kind of mess with the scrap pile and like mess with your hand and other things that will then make what would have been like a huge turn in be almost valueless or just way less than what you would have had. So there's this like kind of element of recognition of kind of trying to figure out what the other players are planning and doing, and trying to prevent them from doing that, while also trying to hide what you're doing and trying to make sure you cash in as well. It is a very quick playing but very fun game. So let me show you how the game goes, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, cool. Alright, this is Unreal Estate, and I've gone ahead and set up a 3-player game. Each person is going to get 2 cards to start with. Then you're also going to set up what's called the scrap pile, which is very important because the cards in the scrap pile determine what cards you're able to score for points. And then here you have just like the kind of communal 5 cards. Every round of the game, you're going to put these 5 cards out there, and then each player is going to take an action, and then whatever cards remain then go to the scrap pile. And you do stack like cards up. So like if I think like, so here we have these 2 elven tree houses. So if these both went to the scrap pile, they'd be stacked up like that. Alright, so there you go. So each person gets 2 cards. I'll just look at the 2 cards I got. Looks like I got an armory and a magic item shop. Now I can't score any points this turn because I don't have any cards in my hand that match things that are in the scrap pile. So on my turn I have one of 3 things I can do. Well, technically right now there's only one thing I can do because the other 2 things I can't do. So I can score, which I can't do because once again, as I mentioned, I haven't matched up with any of the cards that are over here. Or, if I get a card, and I'm probably going to have to dig through the deck and find one, there are cards that you can use that have actions, that when you play them you can do certain things. And I'll find you an action card, and I'll show that to you in just a little bit. But the other thing you can do is just draft a card. You're going to look at the cards that are available, and you're going to take one. Now, the decisions you have to make in this situation are interesting, because of the fact that if you take a card into your hand, then it isn't going to get placed over into the scrap pile. The more cards that are alike that are in the scrap pile, it'll make scoring those cards worth points. And that's the main thing with this game. It is all about timing. It is all about cashing in while you still can. And there are cards, action cards in there that can ruin your plans. And if there are players like this card right here, this enchanted castle with 8 points on there, if players are paying attention and they realize that you're stockpiling like really high numbered cards in your hand, they're going to do things to try to prevent you from being able to turn those in to score points. So just keep that in mind. That's where the fun of this game is, and I'll go into more of that when I get to my final thoughts. But so here you have these choices, and so I'm going to draft a card. Well, the chances are maybe there won't be another elven tree, so I'll just go ahead and I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this elven tree house in my hand. And as I said, astute players who are watching me play are going to like follow what I'm doing and make sure that I'm not, like if I get a bunch of elven tree houses, they're going to try to take note of that. There is no hand limit though as well, so just keep that in mind. So let's see what the next player got. So the next player got 2 armories, which is not bad, because this situation, they can't score, but they could go ahead and take this armory and put this into their hand, and now they'd have 3 armories. Now, mind you, they can't score an armory until it gets over here, but they've prepared themselves for a big hand later on. So let's just go and see what the third player had. Looks like they have a thieves guild and a dwarven, and once again, nobody can score any points in this situation, so they're going to go ahead and you know what? Now let's go ahead and take Thieves Guild. Let's go ahead and double up and have a Thieves Guild. So, okay, so now what happens is these two cards will come over here. And put that on top of that, and that on top of that. And then we're going to take the top 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, we're going to go, and I got some action cards in here. Oops, I took too many. Okay, so we have a Dwarven Tavern. We got a lot of action cards. We got 3 action cards, and I'll show these action cards to you. These aren't all the action cards that are available, but so like these are cards that you'll draft, then you'll be able to use them for their actions. So here's the airship, and it's like you can draft a card from the scrap pile instead of from the proposal area, which is in the middle here. The Orc Outpost, play this card back to the proposal board and draft 2 cards. So you don't discard it, you actually play it back into the middle, and then you take 2 other cards so that people can get access to that. And here's the Goblin Bank. Score 1 point for each card in the scrap pile. Do not clear the scrap pile. Now, why do they say do not clear the scrap pile? Because, and I'm going to have to find one of these cards, there is one in here that actually has you just get rid of everything. Oh, so here's another one where you have the Wizard's Tower. Look at another player's hand, and then just take one of their cards. And I gotta find the one that's really rough on you here. The Dark Castle. When dealt onto the proposal board, discard the entire scrap pile. So people that may have been building up to like cash in on a big return, they're going to have a situation where if you scrap that all out, they're not going to have it. So I acted first the last turn, so that the first turn marker would go to this person, and now they have like their 3 armories, and maybe they're kind of hoping that an armory would show up, and so that they'd be able to wait for that to go in. I do always like the ability to draft 2 cards, so they're going to take the Orc Outpost, put that down there, and the Dwarven Tavern and 2 Thieves Guilds. Once again, they don't have anything, so always good to have an action. So let's take this one, allows us to score points. And let's actually, because I have the Elven Treehouse, let's go ahead and play the Elven Treehouse. Now here's how scoring works. So you say, I'm scoring. So this would be, you have 1 card, which is this. I should actually, here, hold on, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Let me grab another Elven Treehouse just so I can show you how this works. So the big thing when you're scoring is that you are going to be turning in multiple cards. And you can score more than just one type of card. If I had a Halfling House and I could turn all of the cards that match in if I wanted to. But to do the scoring, what you're going to do is you look at the number of cards that are in this thing over here. So there's 2 of them in here. And so you're going to total up the total number of points. So this is a total of 12 for this particular set, right? So that makes each of these cards worth 12 points in scoring. So by turning in these 2 cards, I'm going to score 24 points. So another way to, like, if you had like 3 of them in here and only 1 card, that 1 card would be worth 18. If you had 3 cards and only 1 in here, that would once again, these would be worth, so this would be worth 6, so that would make each one of these cards worth 6, and that would be worth 18. Very straightforward as far as you just multiply the numbers and come up with the points. So after you score cards, let's put this back over here, you take the cards and you go ahead and just put them in the discard pile, and you're done with them as far as that goes. And then in this situation, you have these cards. Cards that would be actions, you don't put them over into because they're not worth anything, and you just go ahead and you're going to take and put the 2 Dwarven Taverns over into this, and now you deal with another 5 cards and so forth. The game ends when you don't have enough cards in this to go ahead and replenish the middle portion of the board. At that point, everybody gets 1 last turn to score points by turning in as many cards as they possibly can to score, and then whoever has the most points will win the game of Unreal Estate. As I said, this game has a lot of little nooks and crannies and fun little things that you can do, and I mean, if you have somebody that is really good about counting cards and remembering which cards people have, it is something that is very, very helpful to recognize. But what's really helpful is if you can somehow manage to build up a good deal of a type of card that people don't expect you to have, and then you can all cash that in for one big giant chunk of points. But anyway, let me talk more about all of that in my final thoughts. All right, thank you for learning how to play Unreal Estate. Now, this game was actually is being published and created. It was created by one of the dudes that started up the Grand Con Gaming Convention, which is held in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And actually, just recently, they had it, and that is a fantastic little awesome con. I shouldn't say little because it is quite big for for the it isn't like a Gen Con or anything like that. But as far as those like kind of mid-level cons, lots of fun had there, and I've been to that, and I met the man, and he's and both the guys who run it, and they're both really awesome. So just another thing, I mean, just like just check that out maybe. But anyway, regardless, Unreal Estate is a very fun game, as I said. It's I didn't even really try to bring this up with my daughter. I know, as I say, I always kind of mention my daughter and I when we play the games, and I usually have her play most of the games that I have. This one I just thought, because it relies a little bit upon remembering what other people have as far as their cards go, and like, kind of like the whole, like, the math does get a little tricky. I mean, as far as like tabulating all the points or anything like that. I mean, not tricky for probably an adult, but I was doing kind of long multiplication on a piece of paper to keep track of the points, but I knew it was probably going to be a little bit more complex than my 9-year-old daughter would have been able to pull off. I mean, maybe technically maybe I'll try to play it with her at some point, but I haven't yet. I did have a lot of fun with this. I have my Bizarro gaming group that I play games with are big into card games and big into mathy card games, and this is a very mathy card game, and they enjoyed it a great deal. In actuality, one of them asked if I absolutely positively had to send back the prototype because they wanted to keep it and be able to play it until they got their copy, because they went ahead and backed it. This is one of those games that obviously the theme could have been anything, but it's all about the wait, the anticipation, the turn in. Like when you get to a player's turn, because you only get one action, it's like, can I collect one more card? Do I dare collect one more card and then before a big turn in? And the thing is that turn order matters like a lot. Like, so you definitely have to watch that, and when you realize that like the next turn you're going to be the first to act, your ability to your choice then really hinges upon whether or not you think you're going to be able to get past like what that the other people's actions, and then when you go first, are they going to try to like, so I'm not explaining this really well, but basically, so like if the person was first is to my right and they go first and I'm next and there's 2 more people to go, so I have like, say, like 4 of those like 6 cards in my hand, and then there's like 3 6 in the scrap pile. There's a 6 card sitting out there. Do I take that 6 card that's there so I can cash in for even more points exponentially, in the hopes that like player 3 and player 4 don't recognize what I'm doing? And this is a game that, like, it was weird, because of the game being as mathy as it is, and because I've got a couple of people, especially in that Bizarro group, that kind of keep their eagle eye going, they're more than willing to say, hey, that's his like 7th card of that type or whatever, and you're just like, shut up. But we encourage open table talk. We encourage the people having conversations and doing things that kind of keep things all even keel. Now, if that doesn't work for your group, I would strongly suggest that you have like kind of a zip. You can't talk about things like that as the game is being played. But regardless, that's what I like. I like that do I dare do this? And then like when you do it, and then it's like 3 and 4, and you're like, hot dang, I just got 78 points, because you're turning in this giant chunk of cards. And then those are the things that I really like. So, it's definitely like a weird tweener game. I mean, it's I could see selling this to non-gamers. I mean, especially people that like like just with a normal 52 card deck, there's tons of mathy standard card games out there, and I could see selling this to a few of them and maybe getting them into the whole designer card and board game hobby by way of showing them this one. So there you go. I urge you to go ahead and check out Unreal Estate and check out the art. The art is awesome. If you have any questions about the game, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. Until next time, this is me, the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.